Well, we appreciate Bonnie doing that with us and for us, and we do want to recognize all our Look Closer sponsors, particularly Charter Communications, who helped us with that video. So we thank them and we thank you. And thank you for your lovely response. Welcome. Welcome. This is the fifth annual NOD Leading Disability Employer Award Dinner. And I've been privileged to serve on the board of this organization for almost 15 years. And we do a lot of things during the course of the year, but I would speak to board members that are with us tonight. This might be our favorite time of the year. We've got great, committed board members and hell of staff, but we like our interaction with you and so grateful to have you spend a day with us. And we thank you for your commitment and your embrace of our mission. We're very proud of that. You are here all day today and tonight because your organization has made a purposeful, meaningful, and from our perspective, a laudatory commitment to hiring people with disabilities, and importantly, to creating a workplace culture that allows these men and women to thrive. And we want to thank you for that. That's exactly what we need to do, but that's exactly what you're doing, and we thank you. I'm sorry we kept you waiting so long in the photograph line, but it's worth it. Danny and Robert David Hall are worth having a photograph with them. I saw a couple of you spending a little bit of your time waiting by the bar, but I'm not going to say anything. But we thank you. It was a wonderful chance to greet you and our colleagues, and also to thank you personally for your participation. For many of you in this room, this is part two, I guess, of what's been a most remarkable day, and I hope it was a productive day. I've learned from my leader, our boss, our great leader, Carol Glazer, that the daytime session, and I love the notion of it, shifting the talent paradigm, was met with great enthusiasm and great response from the audience. We all know, and this is, we've tried to drive this, and I've said this ever since, I guess, I got exposed to the first person who became my friend in first and second grade, had a significant disability. Disability is part of the human condition. It just is. And somehow we try to ignore that simple reality. And as soon as we embrace it and then accept it as part of the human condition and accept the fact that people with disabilities aren't looking for any special treatment, they just want to be understood and be given the same opportunities as everybody else, the country would be a heck of a lot better place. You understand that, and we thank you for that. We know that a truly inclusive culture starts at the top, but it doesn't end there. So you discussed the tools, the tactics, and personal attributes that are most effective creating an inclusive culture. And you had wonderful panelists and experts to hopefully guide the conversation. We are grateful to all those who participated, and we hope you exited the session feeling better equipped to manage those issues, help create or sustain that culture within your organization. I'm very proud of the staff at NOD who work so effectively with our tireless leader, Carol Glazer, to develop programs such as today. This program wasn't designed just to educate or to inform you. Hopefully, we've engaged you, we've energized you, we've stimulated you so that when you go back, you'll do even more to advance your mission and our mission because we all embrace the same thing. So I'd like you to join me in giving my NOD team, and I want everybody in the NOD team to stand to be recognized for your work. It's a great pleasure for me to thank our event sponsors, and I'm going to see how disciplined you are. I'm going to announce them And I don't want you to just give each sponsor a round of applause. We'll be here all night because we got a lot of them. But I want you, as soon as I announce, I want one clap. I want to see how good you are. Without them, this night would not be possible. PwC. Oh, you're good. Spectrum. Comcast, NBC, Universal. Hey, you're getting a little ahead of me here. Kaiser Permanente, KPMG, Randstad, Target, as well as GM, National Grid, TIAA, and Wells Fargo. Now, the script says I need a round of applause for all our event sponsors, so let's hear it all the time. I'd like to take a little survey, show of the hands. How many in the audience are familiar with the NOD's Disability Employment Tracker? Well, obviously, our winners will have their hands in the air because in order to be considered as a leading disability employer, that organization must complete the tracker, and we thank you for your participation in using the tracker. The National Organization on Disability, whose roots date back to the early 80s, always was known in the disability community as being a leader in research about key gaps between people living with and without a disability. Our Harris polls were must-read content for policymakers in DC and across the country. That I wish I could tell you we were further along than we are in this country. But the reality is there's still a lot of work for all of us to do. In the year 2020, our nation will pause to commemorate the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And sadly, I can say this on a personal note because I had enormous affection for the man. It will be the first such anniversary that will not include the man I think most arguably responsible for that groundbreaking legislation. And I refer to him affectionately as President George H.W. Bush, and I used to call him Papa Bush. Some of you may know. Yeah, absolutely. Some of you may not know that Papa Bush was the honorary chairman of NOD up until his death last November. In his later years, he himself benefited from the ADA, and he talked about it because he himself was in a wheelchair. He was so proud of the ADA. And I will tell you in a personal interview with me, he once allowed that he might consider it one of his most important and crowning achievements, given all the international work that he did during his 4 years of presidency. It's really remarkable for a president who had so much to do with changing the geopolitical world, for him to take a look back at ADA and say, you know, that might be my proudest moment. Yet he too, I think, when we had that conversation, was disappointed that the ADA had not been fully embraced by America's corporate community. When he was on the South Lawn, when he signed that legislation, he called on the corporate community and said, you have that responsibility. He wasn't looking for charity, he wasn't looking for philanthropy. There's a lot of ability out there, and you have a responsibility to look in this community of disabled, abled workers, and you have that responsibility to embed them in your structure, in your organization. So I think he would say that we made some progress, but boy, we still have a long way to go. We haven't moved the needle that much, and that's basically the mission of NOD, and your presence here says you've committed to that mission with us as well. Which is why nights like tonight are important. We want all those who take the tracker to aspire to be sitting in this room 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from now, as employers that prioritize people with disabilities in their workforce. We cannot say this enough. Our success in the global economy depends more than ever on how well we inspire and put to use the talent and energies of every person in this country, every talent, every skill, every ability. That is why the National Organization on Disability was created in the first place, to see to it that no ability is wasted. I know I'm preaching to the choir on a night like this, couldn't get into divinity school, so whenever I get a chance to preach, I preach. That's the way it is.